Right, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, sneak peek number 3 for the August update is here, and this is a big one. This is what I expected yesterday, but I guess they wanted to save this one for the Friday sneak peek. That way they can end the week off with a bang and build as much hype as possible leading into the update. And this is a good way to do it because Omega Red is a long-awaited addition to Marvel Future Fight. If you were a comic book fan from I would say the early 90s, anywhere from 93 to the early 2000s, you've seen this man's face if you were reading anything X-Men related, whether it's the core X-Men team or when it comes to Cable, because Cable's been in a whole bunch of teams because Cable was super popular in the 90s. So I was expecting Omega Red when I saw sneak peek number 1 dropping with Cable and Strife. So thank you Netmarble for not disappointing. Here's to hoping the boy actually slaps. For those of you guys who don't know Omega Red, I'm gonna give you guys a brief synopsis of this man. Before we do that though, let me jump over on the forums and show you guys what else they had to say regarding this man. Yes, this is going to be the final sneak peek for the week. As you can see right here, it says we will announce more information through the update details later. So 3 and done. Let's get into it. It says, agents, a new mutant supervillain has arrived. Who can stop this bloodthirsty mutant from his rampage? The Twisted Super Soldier. I'm gonna break that down for you guys because there's quite a bit going on here. It says, check out the new powers of this supervillain who has carbonadium tentacles within his arms. Yes, and this is how I knew it was only a matter of time before we got Omega Red in the game. When they added tier 4 and I saw the materials, I thought he would immediately be coming in the follow-up update, but here we are a year later, we're finally getting Omega Red in the game. But yes, carbonadium was introduced to us in the comics via Omega Red.
1 mutant or 100, they shall all bow before the great Soviet Empire.
The tentacles that come from his body, those are actually made from carbonadium. Carbonadium is basically the poor man's version of adamantium. You heard me correctly. Yes, carbonadium is the poor man's version of adamantium, but we whales spend a whole bunch of money in game to buy carbonadium.
Stop it. Get some help.
So here's the skinny on Omega Red. He's a mutant super soldier that was created by the KGB. The whole purpose of the KGB in the early 90s was to create a bunch of super soldiers so they could rival the United States, because they created the super soldier serum, which created Captain America, and Russia always tries to keep up with the States just like in real life. So the US has nukes, Russia got nukes. In the comics, it's the same thing. Okay, they have Wolverine in the States or in Canada or whatever in the West. So in the East, Russia says, okay, we got to create our own super soldier. But the super soldier serum kind of died when Captain America got frozen in ice. Everybody thought he was dead. So basically they had to start from scratch. And for those of you guys who don't know, the same organization that created Captain America super soldier serum, Weapons Plus, they're the same one that actually created Wolverine, meaning they put the adamantium in his arms and turned him into the savage that we know and love today. Obviously his healing factor is just genetic, it's just his mutant gene. However, the adamantium, the fact that he just has blackouts and shit, that was all done to him by Weapons Plus. So the KGB has a department very similar to the Weapons Plus program that the US has. I believe it's called the Department X, and their whole purpose is creating super soldiers to boost up the Russians' firepower. Omega Red is one of those creations. Now the comic you're looking at right now is X-Men issue number 4 volume 2 that was released in 1991. This is when we get to see Omega Red for the first time. They don't really tell us much about his backstory, and actually we don't have a direct concrete comic run where they give us his entire background. There's just a whole bunch of stuff scattered about him across different comics, simply because in the 90s Marvel was struggling to stay afloat. They were about to be bankrupt, so they would outsource a lot of their work on lesser characters. Yes, Omega Red is one of those characters that they consider lesser, or at least back then he was considered a lesser. So a whole bunch of different people worked on his backstory and it's scattered across multiple different comics. But basically Omega Red, or Arkady Rossovich, was a soldier in the army, the KGB, And he has this mutant ability that emits death spores from his body. So basically it's pheromones that kills everyone around him. And because of that, he developed this, I guess, like this psychosis. I don't know, he's crazy, right? He became obsessed with death and killing people. And eventually the KGB got tired of him killing off a whole bunch of people just for sport, and they executed him. However, he was actually revived by the Hand. I'm sure you guys know the Hand if you've seen anything regarding Daredevil, Elektra, the Defenders, etc. Yes, the same Hand that keeps reviving Elektra, they actually revived Omega Red for the sole purpose of killing Wolverine. Now the plan here with the Hand is basically to test out Omega Red's stamina and his abilities against Wolverine in a death match, and we get to see a fight between Wolverine and Omega Red like never before. These mans were going at it for 17 hours straight, and Wolverine ultimately ended up getting folded by Omega Red and left for dead, bro. Like if the big guy didn't call him off, Omega Red would have finished Wolverine right there. Well, you know Wolverine can come back, and he's come back from the dead multiple times, but this is one of the few times that Omega Red actually beat Wolverine. It's actually crazy. This man's stamina is unlimited. So even though I said earlier that his whips are made out of carbonadium, which is just knockoff adamantium, the poor man version, simply because the Russians don't have the resources to create adamantium, they had to go with a cheaper, more available version. Take nothing away from Omega Red, he's still an absolute animal when it comes to a fight, bro.
You are the strongest of Wolverine's mutant friends. I want you all to see that none are safe from my tentacles.
So I am so excited to see this man get added to the game. Hopefully they don't underpower him. He's probably going to be strapped to tier 3 for a good little while. So here's to hoping they don't drop another freaking Sabretooth disappointment, because oh my goodness, that uniform that they just dropped for Sabretooth was such a disaster. I haven't played with it since the update, bro. So hopefully this man actually slaps when he gets added to the game, because people have been waiting for him for a very long time. All I want out of him is a PvP animal. I don't care if he's a PvE character, because he's not going to get tier 4, which means he's going to be replaced, or he might just come in and just be a mediocre DPS for World Boss. I need him to be a PvP animal just like Logan, and I hope they give him the same kind of healing like Wolverine. When his HP drops below 99%, he starts healing passively, because I know a lot of you guys probably don't know everything about Omega Red, but one thing you should know is that his healing factor, although it's not as good as Wolverine, is one of the primary reasons why he's actually able to stay alive even after being revived. Because you know, if you get cut by metal, they tell you to go to the hospital and get a tetanus shot, right? So what do you do if you have organic metal that's living inside your body? Well, you kind of have to stop your body from breaking down by constantly repairing it, by constantly healing. And carbonadium is actually, I believe, 3 times or 4 times more poisonous than adamantium. So even though Logan has adamantium in his body and it's actually poisoning him, he's able to easily out heal all of the poison. In the case of Omega Red, he's actually being poisoned at a rate that is significantly faster than his healing factor can keep up with. And that's why if you ever see him in any of the comics, he's always looking for a carbonadium synthesizer, which is a machine that they use to like basically normalize the effect of the carbonadium to make it so that it stops poisoning him. So just imagine if this guy ever got a hold of that in the comics to make it so that this thing was not constantly poisoning him, bro, he would be so much harder to deal with. It's kind of like Deadpool's cancer, where it's constantly trying to kill him but he's just out healing it. The same thing is happening with Omega Red because of these whips that they add to his body, and the whips only really give him the ability to extend his range and stuff. Sure, he can suck the life force out of people in some comics, but generally he just uses the whips to detain people. And besides that, his powers just come from him basically emitting poisonous pheromones to break down the enemy's bodies and kill them. But I am so excited to see this man get added to Marvel Future Fight. It's been far too long. I know right away y'all are probably gonna be upset when I say this, but expect him to be a paywall character. They might give him away for free via a future pass, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. But you can bet your ass he is going inside the X Gene selector, because if you look at the X Gene selector, there's very few characters in there that anybody care for. So I am almost willing to bet my life that they put him in the X Gene selector, because this thing hasn't been updated in quite some time, since Polaris, right? And if you look at this comparatively to the bio selector, there's way more characters in here, even though a lot of them are not valuable at this current time. So guys, expect him to be a paywall character. He's a fan favorite, he's been sought after, he's been requested for quite some time, so expect him to be paid. But if he's not, that will be a blessing. But before you start complaining, keep in mind that the 3 other characters that they announced so far can all be acquired for free.